use that a lot, right? It just enters and exits. So this is kind of a way to get them to think about why is language so important? And they feel that they're not empowered. They don't feel that they have power. And so I think it's such an incredible tool to get them to recognize by the end of the school year, wow, I'm actually valued in the world, and I have a powerful tool, and that's my voice, and I can use it to impact the lives of others. So I think I literally refer to this, I would say probably once a week in some way, shape, or form. And it's easy to do in the English classroom, but it's easy to do in any classroom. It doesn't matter what subject you teach, and I'm thinking of you with social studies. I mean, you can constantly find a character within a literary world or a famous figure from history, or if you're teaching science, really this crosses all disciplines. You can constantly draw on someone who has said something that has led to dramatic change. And to make those connections for them, I think, is pretty important to do. So in thinking about gratitude, especially in the past 10 years, hundreds of studies, and they've really come out in the past 10 years, hundreds of studies have documented the social, physical, and psychological benefits of feeling grateful. So with that said, research suggests that these benefits are available to anyone who practices gratitude, especially in the midst of adversity. So I just want you to kind of keep that in mind as we're going through here. So 2 key components of gratitude. It's an affirmation of goodness. We affirm that there are good things in the world, the gifts and the benefits that we have received, and we recognize the sources of this goodness as outside of ourselves. So I think that's pretty important to think about. We recognize the sources of this goodness as outside of ourselves. We acknowledge that other people or higher powers, if you're of the spiritual mindset, give us many gifts, big and small, and help us achieve the goodness that exists within our own lives. And I want you to really think about this, and I believe this wholeheartedly, but it's truly the moral memory of mankind. Think about that phrase. That's intense, right? It's truly the moral memory of mankind. At least that's what George Simmel, the sociologist, believed, but it's truly what I believe as well. So gratitude encourages us not only to appreciate gifts, but to repay them or pay them forward. Some of us are of the generation where our parents actually had us sit down and write thank you notes. We complained about it at the time. How many of you, your parents had you write thank you notes?
My kids still do it.
Okay, well there's value in it, because I think as a kid, and maybe you would agree with me, as a kid you just don't necessarily have a natural desire to hunker on down, get out that stationery and get a pen and start writing. It's just, you're busy, you're thinking, you're playing, you're doing, and you probably disliked the process going through it as a kid. I mean, I have never experienced, and I remember myself, I never remember being excited about sitting down and writing thank you notes. But I think what I didn't understand, which I couldn't at the time, was I didn't understand the bigger picture. And our kids, middle school aged kids, are the prime age to truly do this, to foster this in them. And I'll give you some interesting facts on that later as to why it's so beneficial to them at this age in particular. Okay, so let me get into, okay, so now I'm going to kind of just place you right into my classroom and give you a sense of how I make things work, and this is a possibility for you. But within the first 2 days of school, I have students, I say to my students, bring in words that inspire you. What words do you consider powerful in your own life? So That's all I tell them. And they have a week or so to do it, so we can create this bulletin board in the back of my room. But as you can see here, they brought an incredible variety of words. And what I was amazed at actually, and I'm always amazed at this, is there's a plethora of words. They didn't all bring in the same quote. Very rarely out of 145 students did I even have the same quote. Now you see some of the same faces. I mean, obviously Gandhi. I saw Buddha several times on here. I saw Martin Luther King several times on here. However, they all seem to pick a different quote from those individuals. So I mean, you've heard many of these quotes before, and I love the fact that this student, I said to them, I don't care how you bring it in, but I said I want it about this big, and so when I'm standing up here in front of the room, I said I want to be able to read those words all year long because I don't take this down all year. I want to read these all year long on the back of the board because we do numerous activities with them throughout the year. But I loved the fact that this student this year, so this is what the board looks like this year, and the fact that this student this year put what we think we become. And that was kind of, I brought that up in my talk today because that's the essence of it. I love the fact that it is in his handwriting in particular. But, so they bring in these words, and this is day one, and then day two, I put the question on that dry erase board over there. Do words have power? How do words have power? And what I found was such an amazing response, and if you were there at the talk this morning, you got somewhat of a sense of what their responses were, but these are their words. This young man wrote, words have power because they influence our lives and shape the way we live. And this happens within, I gave them maybe 10 to 15 minutes to do this. This wasn't a day-long activity. They didn't consult the magic box, as I refer to it as. They didn't consult that. They didn't consult dictionaries, thesauruses. This was just out of their heads in the moment. They can make someone's day or break someone's day. They can inspire. They can change someone's life or your life. And the way that this student put the exclamation mark and underlined it, I thought, oh. I mean, I just find my 8th graders so insightful and so powerful. I mean, this kid gets it. And I guess through doing this, I don't want them to forget it. I don't want them to forget it. I wanted to share a few more with you that I thought were pretty wonderful. Words have power because they convince people to do things. Also, they can give inspiration to people. Although people say actions speak louder than words, I believe this comparison is unfair, I was excited to say that one because I thought that's kind of in line with what I'm thinking. Words are highly powerful because they are a series of vocal movements that drive our world. Words can build friendships and break hearts. Sure, if no one used hurtful words, our world would be great. Though if no words were hurtful, how would we know which words were truthfully kind? Seriously? Seriously? Do you see why when I did this activity, I was like, holy cow, if I could share this out, this is amazing stuff. And honestly, one question on the dry erase board, I did not do any setup in conversation. They didn't get a little talk in the auditorium. This was totally just 100% them. Words have a lot of power because they can completely change how someone views their self or the world. Clearly you see I let the errors stand for what they were there. Although it has been nuts. Words have the power to change everything from learning to teaching others. Words can get your message or feelings out, and they also help communicate what you want to change.
Hannah, what was the question that you posted for them?
How do words have power?
I do it.
It's kind of shocking, right? I mean, I really wish I could get this message out to so many educators because I found this earth-shattering. I really did.
Well, it's giving them a chance to be authentic. And they are, if we give them a chance.
They are, and all I did was pose the question. That was it. I just gave them the question. Words have power because they can lead to positive action. And then I loved this. Words can make you feel. There was something just so beautiful and poetic in its simplicity. Words can make you feel. But the flavor overall, when you're looking, when you're examining these sticky notes, the flavor overall is total optimism. I mean, do you feel it? And I think that's what's so special and so magical about teaching any grade at the middle school level. They are there, and I spent several years teaching high school. I enjoyed high school. There's a lot of rooting at that age. And for those of us who have chosen to be in the middle, and I chose to go back to the middle, and 8th grade is my favorite grade to teach of all age groups, 7 through 12, but they're so hopeful and optimistic. And so I guess through this project, I really want to capitalize on that and build on that and foster that. Okay, so just to give you a sense of a couple of things. So I gave you week one setup I kind of gave you with the power boards. And this is an annual, this is what happens in my classroom. The next piece of this, so in an ideal scenario, and I will be quite truthful with you, because this project is new, and so transformative in nature for my students and for myself, I'm going to add a third. This project right now only consists of writing 2 letters, but I'll tell you the third that's happened that I'm going to add this year. So the first one happens, and I've done this for the entire 14 years that I teach. I've had the students write a 2-page letter at the beginning of the school year for open house for their parents. And then I deliver the letter to the parents at open house. So they kind of embark upon the gratitude project, if we're going to call it that, with being grateful for their families. And I go into, as you know, we act a lot with middle schoolers, so I go into a full-fledged conversation with them about, so how do we do that? I don't want you to just say, hey, mom and dad, and I use that example, you're best mom and dad in the whole world. I said, I want you to give them textual evidence. I don't phrase it that way, but now that you're saying that, that's hysterical. But yes, I have them give them the textual evidence. I say to them, we have a pizza place in our town called Pope's, and I say to them, listen, you want to tell your parents, thank you for giving me pizza for getting pizza for Pope's on Friday nights. Thank you for taking us to the Cape. Thank you for always picking me up after football practice when I'm smelly and dirty. So I give them all of those examples, but I only give it to them verbally. I don't give them a list so they can just cut and paste my words into their letter. But what I have found for the past 14 years that's been beautiful and shocking. So I guess when I think about it, I embarked on the gratitude project longer ago than I thought, and it's just kind of morphed into what it is today. The parents, when they receive these letters, and realize that we have 9 periods, 40 minutes, so when you're in open house, you've got like 7 minutes with these parents. Well, if you want to cut down some of the time when you're just talking about the blah, 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 oh, this works wonders, let me tell you, because you give the letter and they're just so overcome with the sincere emotion that they feel from their kids. But I think where it also came from was out of a place of, I have an 11-year-old, I have a 14-year-old. In the elementary school, in the elementary school years, we received as parents the tie, the handprint, the turkey handprint, love you mom, happy Thanksgiving. We received like the crafty, cool, they love us still in our lives. And then it gets to a point where you get nothing. You go dry, basically. Am I right on this? Yeah. You go dry from like 3rd grade on, wouldn't you say? 3rd, 4th, 5th? Not a lot of action. 5th? Mm-hmm. fifth, it goes bone dry. He gets nothing from school, right? So you don't get anything from fifth.